This week on SailAway, the one discovery you never want to make.
Our boat is slowly sinking.
But that's not enough to keep us from a good time.
We are going to a bride,
Which is a South African beach barbecue and a chance to catch up with all our cruising friends before we go our separate ways. We also fill you in on our plans as to where we're headed and what we're doing with this big old boat.
I don't know how much we have alluded to the fact that we are planning to go back to the States when we leave Grenada. But if we haven't, we're planning to go back to the States when we leave Grenada.
And we tackle a very daunting and very necessary project before we do any passage making. It requires a crappy sewing machine, a beautiful sewing machine, some new hardware, some used hardware, some it'll-do-for-now hardware, a near miss,
oh my god,
and a whole lot of sweat equity to try to finish a $1,000 plus project for under $100. Because money don't grow on palm trees.
Ever wish you could escape normal life and experience more of the world?
So meet me on that island.
Well, we did just that. We sold everything we owned on dry land and sailed away.
Promise me that we'll sail away.
Now we are roaming the planet in search of new adventures and sharing it with you every week.
Just promise me that we'll sail away.
So hit subscribe and escape normal with us.
And I'll be yours forevermore.
Come on, it's just that little button down there. That's it. No, money doesn't grow on palm trees. We've checked. We've spent hours underneath them just to be sure. But as our project list keeps growing, we sure wish it did.
Our boat is slowly sinking, technically speaking. And yeah, I stole that from Tula's Endless Summer. There's water coming in, it means your boat's sinking. Our rudder post is right here, and there's always been water right here. Let me show you. But I'm in the engine compartment here, and this little area here should be dry. This is just sort of like your standing area. This is our hot water heater. And we know this shaft seal leaks. It doesn't leak near as bad as it used to. And so there's always kind of water under the engine from that. But that doesn't lead this way. This slopes down toward the motor. And so I tasted it today, and it's definitely salt water. And so I started thinking, based on where the wetness was, which is all up around the hot water heater and the rudder post. Can't be the hot water heater because it's salt. So I'm like, oh man, I think we must have a leak in our rudder post down toward the base. Not necessarily like game ender or anything, you know, sometimes it's just like a little crack, something like that. However, I started digging around in here. I was replacing a cotter pin on our steering. That's why I was down here. And so I started cleaning up all this sludge down around it to try to see where the water was coming from. I followed a tiny, tiny trickle of a trail of water all the way back to the very bottom edge of our actual stern, right where our swim ladder is. And like a lot of boats, especially older boats, that little stern edge, it gets beat up. You know, ours is definitely beat up just from, you know, docks and the ladder and dinghies and you name it, just kind of, your stern just gets banged up. Apparently one of those is enough that it's actually through the fiberglass and it's just literally leaking through our stern. That's actually pretty good news because it's not the rudder post. I cleaned all around the rudder post. It looks great. It's solid as hell. And everything else seems fine other than just dirty. But that's way better than rudder post.
Good.
And we can patch that when we haul out. And
So we don't have to do anything to the rudder post now? Or do we still
nah,
need
rudder
to?
post is fine. So yeah, we'll do some fiberglass work on the inside. You know, do some gel coat work on the outside. And it should be fine. But I can't do anything about it right now. Alright, we're only missing one person. He's already at the party. We are going to a braai. And a braai is a South American barbecue blowout, basically. We got sausages, we got booze, we got a dog, and I think that's all you need. The trick is not hitting any reefs on the way over. The big reef right over there, I think that's really the only one you got to worry too much about.
As trying as boat projects and boat life in general can be, it's easily offset by all the friends you make out here in the cruising life. Sadly, this is also the time of year when everyone's paths seem to veer off in different directions. So we all make the best of the time we still have together.
So last night at the Bry on Hog Island, Rivers became a member. I should say he fell in with a gang of jungle resistance fighters, but he was granted a weapon, and apparently part of the rite of passage is to paint.
I was pretending we were pretending that they were weapons.
Hey man, we're all pretending when it comes right down to it. What kind of weapon is it?
Oh,
okay, cool. Well, I can't wait to see it when it's done. What are you going to do with it when it's done?
wait for it to dry.
Just watch it.
Kind of.
That's sailing life for you sometimes. Just watching paint dry. That's the face. That's the face of watching paint dry. Good morning. We are still here in Grenada in Woburn Bay. Had some rainy days lately, but today is pretty nice. We have a couple of cloth projects that we need to do something about. And currently we don't have a heavy-duty sewing machine yet. But we have a lazy bag that's pretty much trashed. That's just kind of being strapped up there so we have some kind of cover on the sail. And it's not doing a great job at that either, missing a couple spaces there. And we think we have an idea of how to turn this thing back into a lazy bag. We're going to change how it was mounted to the boom and then make some modifications. And I think we can at least make something usable out of it for a while. So, it's a huge pain in the butt, but I think we're going to drag these things off and drag out the sewing machine and see what we can come up with. Meanwhile,
having the most fun.
what you doing? We got the hobbit hole cleaned out yesterday. It's far from finished, but it's clean. It's fairly organized. And then, as you can see, this is a really nice bed. I mean, this mattress is very clean. Mattress is clean and in really nice shape. And Rivers is rediscovering a bunch of his toys that we hadn't been able to get out. They were just in bags and stuff. So,
Okay.
you gotta say thanks to SV Booger for that.
Booger.
All these things to rediscover.
In case you're unfamiliar, a lazy bag or stack pack is not the same thing as a sail cover. It's a sail cover that's attached to the boom and integrated with the lazy jacks that run from the mast down to the boom to help keep the main in control when you're hoisting it and when you douse it, and makes covering and protecting the mainsail 100 times easier. And like everything else on a boat, they can be really expensive. So with all the things on our list requiring money and attention, we can't afford not to try to salvage this thing. And our goal is not the expected $1,000 bare minimum for a brand new one, but under $100.
Well, while Lauren had the canvas shop going, Rivers and I went to Turbulence Sails, got a new batten. We're missing one batten up there. I kind of forgot about that until we were messing with all this. So, let's go see if we can slide it in there. Alright, nothing real crazy there, I guess. Slide it in and make it work. Alright, well, figured out why that batten is missing. supposed to be basically a metal plug in there that screws in, and then it has a little set screw that holds it in, like that. So at some point, that one just got popped out of there. And clearly we don't have anything like that, so I'm gonna do what any self-respecting DIYer would do and just stick a bolt through it. I think it'll work just fine. And you know, it's not perfect because that could possibly snag on the topping lift during jibes, but I think it'll be okay. We generally loosen the topping lift anyway, so I think it'll be fine. It's not going anywhere, that's for sure. Now we have all our battens in place once again. Now if we just had all of our mast cars, one thing at a time. Cheers. Cheers. We are celebrating a couple things. The first thing is that it's not raining, because it rained for like 2 days straight, like biblical flood proportions.
Yeah, I don't even know our dinghy.
I know, our dinghy's got to be so full. We haven't been off the boat today. We left it down because it was raining so hard. I didn't want to go out in the wind and rain to pump it out before hauling it up or pull the plug or anything.
And then it's rained a lot more since then.
Oh my God, it's been nuts. But it stopped. And now we know exactly every hatch that leaks around the frames. The windows, the big windows are still holding firm until we can get them replaced, but we found every other leak now. Anyway, that's not what we're drinking for. We have talked, and I don't know how much we have alluded to the fact that we are planning to go back to the States when we leave Grenada. But if we haven't, we're planning to go back to the States when we leave Grenada. But we haven't really sat down and kind of talked about a real plan for that.
I'm fishing.
Good job, catch a fish.
Catch us some dinner.
Trying.
You know, we're going to the U.S. to try to save money, just for all the things we want to buy for the boat, big things and little things both. They're just so much cheaper there and so much simpler to get them, you know. So that was like a big reason we were going, and if we blow a ton of money staying in marinas, then what's the point, really? But as I was looking up and down the rivers, knowing there really weren't mooring balls in Charleston, I noticed Cooper River Marina is up the Cooper River, just past the Ravenel Bridge, which is 100 and some feet high, so it's no problem for our 73-foot mast, which is a problem a lot of places. And it's a county park marina. Their rates are pretty good. They're not mooring ball good. For our boat with a Boat US membership, it's $912 a month for transient, for monthly. Including, well no, that doesn't include electric. The electric was only $70 a month extra. Yeah, we kind of weighed back and forth between that and the St. Augustine mooring balls, and so the St. Augustine mooring balls are $560 a month. But there's a couple of problems with the mooring balls, and one is, you know, it's not as secure. It's not in a facility, because we're going to be leaving for a few weeks at a time to go see family and everything. We'd have to use our dinghy, which in itself has a couple problems, and that's getting things back and forth, you know, big items like plexiglass and all that, and the fact that our dinghy is not registered in the U.S., in Florida, or anywhere else. You know, we bought it in Grenada, and down here in the islands, they don't really register dinghies. They do in the USVI, but they generally let you off the hook because everybody's from everywhere. But in Florida, they do not let you off the hook. That's a pretty hefty fine if you get caught with an unregistered dinghy, which is just kind of bullshit. It's just a way for them to get more money. But regardless,
That's a different soapbox
it is
right now.
And if it was just a simple thing to do, that'd be one thing, but it's not even titled. We'd have to get it titled and then register. It's just a big pain. So not having to use the dinghy is a pretty big plus. Regardless, we decided that even though that's more than we wanted to spend, roughly $1,500 more than we thought we would have to, that, you know, we'll save a couple $100 in gas going back and forth to Ohio, and who knows how much, you know, to register the dinghy and title it, or getting fined for not. And just the simplicity of it. This is not something we do all the time, so we're going to try to keep it simple. And frankly, in the river systems on the east coast of the U.S., I do like the idea of it being at a dock a lot more than being at a ball, with us not on it.
It was Charleston. So excited to
Charleston.
go back to see all the places that
It's Charleston. It's worth a few $100 to be back in Charleston for a little while.
We would have spent $1,500 to go there for a vacation for a week.
Yeah.
3 months there to see everybody.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty awesome.
I'm really excited.
So, that is why we're having this drink right now, to celebrate that we're going back to Charleston for a few months.
But
It's going to be a pretty epic passage getting back there.
it's like 13
It's
days.
Yeah, I mean, if you put it all together, it's going to be a lot of sailing over the course of a month and a half. It's going to be, I think it's going to be pretty cool. Charleston friends, here we come. Can't wait to see you. Patreons, we'll do a meetup for sure and go do some drinks and hang out and say hi to y'all. Buy you guys a beer for a change. And, yeah, see everybody in the States. We've made a plan.
I know.
I feel better just having made a plan. It's been very up in the air.
You were stressed.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's go pump out this dinghy and get some wings.
Yep, it's wing night. Yeah, that's right. Wing night. We do that in Grenada.
It's like 50 cents a wing.
I know, it's pretty awesome.
Might be it.
Yeah, this is definitely a pull the plug scenario. Scrambled eggs and leftover waffles. I am kind of a little bright-eyed and bushy-tailed today, which is not normal. It's only about 7:15 or something like that. And the reason is I am
7:46.
Oh, okay. I am wholeheartedly excited about our activity for this morning, and that is to finally repair our lazy bag. I haven't quite gotten these two on board with my level of enthusiasm yet, but I'm working on it. Basically what happened is, like a few other things, we don't have a heavy-duty sewing machine on board, so we couldn't really make the repairs and modifications to it that we needed to, just because there's parts of it are just too thick for our little wimpy machine to get through. And then, just on a whim, I put out a message on one of our WhatsApp groups of different cruisers around here, just to see if somebody had one they'd be willing to loan us. And lo and behold, Derek off of the Daily Arc, a really cool boat that they built themselves over 20 years or something. They offered to let us use their heavy-duty machine, and going over to pick it up this morning. So we get the fuel for lazy bag repair.
Can you get it
it on without my help, or you need me?
Nailed it.
Oh my god, please don't.
Foot slips.
Okay, that was a two-hander, so we got it. We got it on there. Sorry.
If I had to like take a header in the boat while throwing the sail right back toward the dinghy, it's what I would have done. Would have resulted in an emergency room trip, but it'd be insanely heavy. Good Lord.
Having this sewing machine was definitely a game changer. Lauren just had to figure out how to use it.
That's where the thread runs through. So you want to find that section, and then you want to pull the thread through from the right.
Well, as always, things are not as easy as we ever think they're going to be. This thing's huge. We need 18-foot long battens. Our 8-foot long batten wasn't that bad. It was 40 EC, so about 15 bucks. So it would stand to reason 2 of those battens should run maybe 80, which isn't too bad. Conduit would definitely be cheaper if we had a good way to get it. Although, would it? I mean, it's crazy what some things cost down here compared to the States. So frankly, I don't know if conduit would be cheaper. Might be going for a walk. Zeke, you can probably join me on this one. It's a nice long walk. Plus, we can get a look at the 65-foot long privilege they were splashing when I left. It's pretty sweet. All right, back to shore.
All right, let's show you what's going on here, because I'm not entirely sure what to do next. We've put all, I put on all of these connecting points, at least all that we have, and I seem to be too short, which sucks. So unless Eric stashed them somewhere that I haven't seen, we don't have them. Eric's currently off the boat. He went to go try and find battens so that we can make this a more rigid structure when it's up. So I can't ask him, and I don't really want to proceed too far ahead if it's not going to work the way that I've thought it's going to. We also have realized that the sides aren't totally symmetrical, so I've put the grommets on kind of in what I can find as the matching side, but they definitely do not fully line up correctly. So that's another thing where I just kind of did it and I fudged it, but it might need to be redone depending on what Eric has designed in his mind. So now I am at a stopping point until I get some kind of go-ahead from him. Usually I would just kind of forge ahead and say whatever, I don't really care. This is how I think it should go, but because I'm not the one who has the plan, he's the one that has like thought this through to the extreme. I don't feel comfortable just like, oh, we'll make it work, we'll make it fit. So hopefully he'll be back soon so that I can continue. Should be one there, there's one here, and then there should be another one right at the end. And as you can tell, there's like a ton of extra room right here. So that could be not good. Big gap, hold. Turns out I just didn't see it.
Looks like something's happening. I'm not carrying battens because they wanted 850 EC. No. So, $300 US. However, Jesse and Jen still have their car. And it's like, you can borrow our car today if you want. So I might go to the hardware store and buy conduit and just cut it down into 6-foot pieces and then splice it together. Looks like you've done things. Sweatshop is still in full force.
Emphasis on the sweat.
Yeah. So basically what we're trying to do here, we decided to leave the bottom edge open for now and see how we like it. So Lauren has been getting our track slides installed. This thing was not made symmetrically, so on both sides where these straps are set up, we really want the track slide to be there and meet on the other side. But technically these don't really line up, so we're gonna have a couple gaps that are bigger than others. We sort of think once this thing is installed and bagged out, they all kind of bulge a little bit over the top of the boom. We're not gonna be able to tell. Again, we're going for usable, won't fall apart, will hold the sail and protect it. Like I said, we've modified it so it has 4 supports instead of 3, so really long boom. 3 is not enough. Not enough lazy jacks for that long of a sail bag. And then in lieu of the actual battens, we got some good old-fashioned water pipe. And I got 4 unions for those. And I think that's going to do the trick. I mean, we used that for the lazy bag on Layla, which wasn't nearly as long, but that tubing's only supporting really the bag itself to keep it in a nice straight line. I think that tubing will be rigid enough. I got all that tubing for about $30 US, as opposed to, you know, 250, no, like 300 for the actual battens. So it will work. It's going to work. And if it doesn't work, it'll work good enough. I mean, if it doesn't work at all, or if it's awful, we'll just take it out. It's going to be fine. So I'm going to go join these pieces together. They're 10 feet, and we need 18 feet on both sides. So I'm going to cement these together and then trim them down to a little bit more than 18 feet. And once we install them, we'll get the lengths just right so that they're nice and tight in there and don't want to slide out. So Lauren got all of our track slides done and the reinforcement for the 4th ring on both sides. And so now I'm just marking. I do these kind of menial tasks and then let her do the real actual work. And this is just for webbing loops to slide the conduit into. The sail bag, as much as it's going to be, is done. We got all the way to literally 1 web loop from being finished, and the needle broke. I just got out the hand sewing stuff, finished up the last loop by hand. The last couple pieces were just to keep the tail end of it lifted up. They'll be connected to the topping lift. So we got 2 new loops for our 4th lazy jack line. We've got our track slides all along the bottom, 11 of them in total. A new zipper pull, and then just new loops at the front and back to secure it to the topping lift and to the mast once it's all zipped up. The trick now is going to be getting it on the boom. It's not going to be easy. Hopefully we can just sort of slide the, it's a loose-footed main obviously, so just slide the whole cover under and then just work it all the way back to the back here. Have to untie our reefing lines. Yeah, I mean, hopefully we can get it all hooked up that way. Then we'll get the port side lines tied on. Won't be able to adjust them very well, but we'll tie them on, get it kind of hoisted up so that this side has some support, and then we'll sort of shove it all this way, go to the other side, untie those lines, and retie them to the bag on that side. Seems logical. I got a feeling it won't work quite that simply, but I'm pretty excited to get it up there, so I can't wait. I'm so tired of being the the raggedy boat in the anchorage with the sail out, or the freaking sail bag crammed inside the lazy jacks and hanging all loose. You don't want to be that kid in the neighborhood. That's what happens when you don't put anything in a slot for like 30 years. Can't get anything in there anymore. Got a little help.
Lube it up.
That's right. So we got one side just tied loosely and no way in its permanent form. But now we got to get this conduit slid down through there. Hopefully it makes it through all the loops, and then I got to cut it off. So many steps! It's going though. We got it all the way in, we got it across the bottom. So I'd say it's going good so far.
The foundation is shaking and the windows all are breaking, but I'm not about to run for the door.
In this day and age, in lots of parts of the world, there's an overarching mentality that only new is good enough. And yeah, shiny new things can be pretty awesome. But if we allowed ourselves to fall into that trap all the time, we'd never be able to afford this life. And we firmly believe that sometimes reclaiming an item you thought was ruined with a little bit of ingenuity and hard work has a different kind of value all its own. And the money saved will go toward the things that we can't fix. Grand total for this project, $95.50.
Best looking sail bag you've ever seen.
Right now.
Yeah. Does it look like a professional loft job? No. I don't think it's too bad though. Considering what it looked like, man.